Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and here we are. We're here yet again at the very end of the year, or close to the end of the year. By the time this video goes out, it should be going out on December 24th, so if you are celebrating, Merry Christmas. I hope you do have an awesome holiday, or any other holidays that you might be celebrating out there. Now, this is a series that I've been doing since 2016, so it's been going on for several years now at this point, and I'm aware that this doesn't attract, a whole ton of views and everything, and funny enough, it's a bunch of work to get into this video here. I guess work is subjective, but it takes many hours to get to this point just because it involves beating a whole bunch of games. But this is a little self-imposed challenge I do where I try to beat at least one game a month, and I then talk about all the games I finished at the end of the year here in this video. Now, the reason why I even started to do this challenge is kind of twofold. Originally, it started because after I'd graduated college, I started, working a full-time job. I was busy, I was still doing the YouTube thing, and I was on a good roll of playing video games and still finishing them. However, it kind of got to the point I also realized, sometimes it is hard for me to sit down and play a game. So, there's times I just don't have interest. There's other times I just don't have the time and resources to allocate to that. So there's times where, yeah, I could knock out a good 4 or 5 games in a month, but then there's other times where I'm struggling to finish a 2-hour game in a month. But it's something that I just kind of like to do. I enjoy it, and it keeps me grounded in some way to really just enjoying video games in that way. So I've still enjoyed doing it here. I've started it, in 2016, and I've just continued on with it since. Now, even talking about it here with all the games that I finished up, that idea was actually from Broken Games HD, I guess formerly known as Broken Games HD. They now go as Broken Games HDR on here, and they still have a podcast going called the Weapon Wheel Podcast. I personally don't watch it or listen to it anymore, so I'm not sure if they still do this. I hope they do. And I don't have anything against the podcast, it's just I don't listen to it at this point. However, years ago, I think even before I started doing this, because this is where I kind of got the idea from for it, what all the co-hosts would do is at the end of the year, they would all run through a list of all the games that they had completed, and they would tally it up, and they would see who among all the hosts ended up beating the most amount of games. So again, for me, I'm not trying to really compete with anyone else. I'm more just competing with myself here, and my goal is I want to complete at least one game per month. Now, the only other stipulations I really put on it are I can't count the game multiple times that year. At one point, I think a year or two ago, I even asked the community about it, and I said, hey, do you think it would be okay to double count a game? And the overwhelming majority was no. You beat a game one time, you count it once. So if I beat a game in June and July and then August, the same game, I can only count it for June. That's what the idea is going to be. Plus, it pushes me to play different games and all of that. So that's really the only self-imposed, I guess, thing there that I do. The other limitation, or I guess the other minimum requirement, I guess, is finishing at least one game per month. So the idea being here that I would finish at least 12 games per year. Hopefully that would be the issue. Well, not issue, that's the hope there. When it comes down to it all, I've been able to do that every year since 2016, including this year. I was able to succeed in this challenge. I have done it once a month here. Monitor's turned off. We stay real casual with this video, right? And then the fun thing is too, I have friends, I have, followers on here who around this time, they ask me, hey, do you still do that one a month thing? That's cool. So it's kind of a fan favorite, I guess I could say here. It's nothing that gets, a ton of views, mind you, but the people that enjoy it really seem to enjoy it, and it's something that I get to have fun doing. So the good news is here, I have a nice stack of games because I still go physical, and there's also digital ones. So mind you, this is not all the games I beat, because some of them are compilations and some of them are also digital, but okay, let's not drop it here. Here is the stack of physical games I own that I have finished. Right here. I'm happy with this. So again, if you haven't watched this before, we're just gonna go real casual about it, and there's not all too much editing that's going on. I do put in gameplay clips and such, but I'm actually gonna be pulling out my phone, which I typically don't do on videos, but I don't have all these memorized, like when I beat them and what was going on and everything. So I do have a list on here that I keep going for every year, and we'll just go through it at this point. So let's see. I am going to have to, move around the stack a little bit here. But the first game I ended up finishing was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on the Switch. I do have kind of a placeholder right here that I'm going to be putting it as, because I don't own it physically on the Switch. I decided to pick that up digitally through the Trilogy. Is it the best port? No, it really isn't. It really isn't. And I've been kind of vocal about that as well, too. Now, as you can see, I am a person who I decided to pick it up. And that was more kind of my own interest. And I was like, well, I do really want to see how rough it is, but also I can find some enjoyment from it. Playing San Andreas on the Switch, like, was it playable? Sure, it was playable enough on there. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, I can find some sense of enjoyment on there, but do I necessarily recommend it on there? Not all too much, especially when it comes down to how, I guess, how Take-Two has really treated this, unfortunately, where they were really trying to play off this trilogy as just saying, oh, there's only like a few glitches and they've been fixed already. No, they haven't. There's still issues on there. Now, let someone dumb like me pick up the game and experience it and share it with you all, but if you all are actively looking to play San Andreas, for example, getting it on PC is a good option. If you want to actually play it on a console, getting a PS2 version or the Xbox version, that works as well too. So that's how you would do it. Still a fun game, mind you. I want to go through the trilogy again, so there was that. The next game I ended up finishing here was Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse. Now, this is a game that is kind of looked at as, a bit of a rarity, a bit of a fan favorite on the original Xbox. I never played it, I never owned it, I never tried it out, and I wasn't really set on buying it because it was so expensive for the original Xbox. I don't know how much it is now, but it just got to the point I was like, I'm not even tracking the price. I just don't care at this point. And the big selling point of this was that it ran on the same engine that Halo did. Crazy, I know. It was actually kind of unbelievable when you play it here. Either way, what ended up happening was I saw that this game of all games got a re-release, I guess a remaster for the current generation. Well, last generation, because it came out on Xbox One, PS4, and Switch here. So it got a remaster, but it also got a physical release, which unfortunately was a GameStop exclusive, but I saw it go on sale at one point. I don't remember how much it was, but one night I picked it up. I played this on Switch. I really enjoyed this game. This is a good game. Like, I'm happy I picked it up. Very happy I picked it up. Like, I can see why people have gunned after it for the original Xbox as well, too. I think it has a low print run, so that's why it was, pretty valuable. But it's also just, like, a really fun, quirky, odd, and again, fun game. Yes, I did say fun twice, because that's just how it is. It's a dumb, fun game. That's how it is. And it's even just, it's got that weirdness to it from the 6th generation. Yeah, it was a 6th generation game. It's got that weirdness and quirkiness to it that I haven't really seen in other generations, unfortunately. So it was nice to actually play this for the first time and finish it. So there was 2 games down so far. The next one I don't have a physical copy of because it didn't come out physically, but it was Deltarune Chapter 2. Now, a few months prior, I had replayed Deltarune Chapter 1, and I very much enjoyed it. And then I got to play through Chapter 2 on here, and it was great as well. Very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a really cool improvement over the first chapter. Overall, still has the great humor that I enjoyed and everything. I will say, when I bring up Deltarune or Undertale, I like those games. And some people, like, the reaction I get is, oh my god, the fan base is so bad. I didn't know. I didn't really know the fan base was bad. I'm not, like, into the community, into the fan base, I guess. So my best recommendation for it is if you've never played Undertale or Deltarune, if you would like something kind of sort of interesting in that weird, like, odd, ironic RPG with, like, a Super Nintendo type aesthetic to it, if something like that seems interesting to you, just don't pay attention to what people are saying about it. Just go in, play it, enjoy it, because that's how I found a lot of enjoyment about it. At this point, I still don't know why the community, like, for Undertale and Deltarune gets hate, and, like, I would prefer to keep it that way, because I really like the games. So, that's just me. Next one, I also don't have a physical copy of this, because I don't think it was released physically stateside, actually. No, I don't think it was. That's why it was a big deal. So I do have Nintendo Switch Online, and I also decided to pick up the expansion pass for it as well. And I've been playing the N64 games on there. I know people have given it some grief, like even at the beginning, it was like, oh my god, people are going to be paying so much money to play some N64 ROMs. Here's the thing, when it comes to just like playing with normie friends and, just getting online and stuff, anyone can operate the Switch, anyone can easily use it, and, as long as you all have a stable connection, it's actually, like, fine for the most part. So even right now, some friends and I, we've been playing a bunch of Mario Party 1 and 2 on there. We've been just having a good time with it. But my girlfriend and I actually played through this. We did co-op on here for Sin and Punishment on the N64. She had never heard of it. I had heard of it, and the idea with this game, I think it was, from what I understand, it was a game developed by Treasure. It came out very late into the N64's life cycle, and it came out in Japan, and it's, like, fully localized. It's nearly fully localized. I think there's still some aspects of the menu that are Japanese, but overall, the game is playable in English. It has a full voice acting cast in English. And the issue that came up with that, I think, was just it came out too late into the life cycle, so they decided to not officially release it over in the US. So it was a big deal when it was available over here. I think the first time it was available, legitimately for everyone was on the Wii's Virtual Console. I want to say that's it. And then it's come out here on, N64 Expansion Pass. It was a really good game. Very much enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun with it. Thank goodness for save states. Thank goodness for save states, because it was difficult there. But even the co-op was interesting on it as well, too. So, yeah, very much enjoyed that. That was the only game I finished for February, so we're at 4 so far. March, I started picking it up a little bit more. Again, another game. Unfortunately, I'm empty-handed. I don't have a physical copy of this. I thought of getting one at one point, and then I decided, no, I'm not going to. I'll be okay. But Tetris Effect Connected. Very much enjoyed that game as well, too. I got into a really big Tetris mode for a little bit. I won't go into too much detail about it. Just in short, the first quarter of this year was awful for me. Horrible, awful. Don't recommend it to anyone. But what ended up happening was I had read something, like I read a tweet or something, and someone was just like talking about, consuming media when you're having bad experiences, like when you're really depressed, when you're having all these other issues. And they essentially said if you are super depressed, their recommendation is do not lean towards media that you enjoy. Because the problem is when you start like leaning towards something that you really enjoy, when you kind of start recovering and coming out of that, you might permanently taint that. Like every time you watch that one movie that you really enjoyed before, you might get depressed again, or it might just remind you of that bad part in life. So their recommendation was to consume garbage media. Just garbage media. Consume that and Tetris. Not saying that Tetris is garbage, but apparently there's been even some studies that have been done as well too that have shown that people who have suffered like traumatic brain injuries, if you give them Tetris shortly afterwards and have them play it for a bit, it can help in some way with, I guess, cognitive abilities and some recovery on there. So Tetris is fine as well, too. And I played a lot of Tetris during this time. I played a lot of it. I didn't really consume junk media, but it was a lot of Tetris. So I played Tetris Effect Connected. Beautiful game. Beautiful game. And it was also great to play on the Switch OLED edition. That's where I've primarily been playing a lot of games. And this one I also did play on Switch, but yeah, I don't have too much else to say about it. The music is fantastic. The game is great. It's Tetris. It ended quicker than I thought it would. I remember I only played it for a bit, and then I got to one level that was like really, really hard, and I thought it was like out of character difficult, and then the game just ended. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess the game's over. So shorter than I expected, but also that does help with replayability and such, so that's always cool. The next one I played was, I guess, a Tetris game, you could say. Here it is. We're going back to physical. Again on Switch, but I ended up picking up and playing Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. Now, I only played the first one a little bit, and I did pick it up afterwards, but I think I picked this up because it was something cheap. It was like $8 or $10. Difficult game, especially when you get near the end of it, but fun. Really fun, really addictive, very much got into this. Was happy when I finished it up, but really good game overall. I do have the first one, and I went back to play. I didn't finish that one, spoiler alert, but if you can only pick one of them, I would recommend getting the second one. I have no idea what the hell's happening on the story. I don't know the story on this, all right? I know there's a story, but it just has much better game mechanics on here, and the gameplay itself is better on Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 compared to the first one. So overall, great game. Very much enjoyed that. The next game I finished up, which I've been finishing this up like once a year, which is good, and I'm currently right now on a New Game Plus Plus playthrough of it, but this was my New Game Plus playthrough. This was Ring Fit Adventure. So I got to finish this up in March for the second time. Now, if you've listened to my podcast, Mario's Minute, I usually say, I share what games I'm playing at the, during that month, and Ring Fit Adventure always comes up. And I recommend this, and I really love this game because this is legitimately like my replacement for a gym. It will kick your butt, and if it's not kicking your butt, it's because you're not playing on a high enough difficulty. This game does kick your butt. It does a great job of it, and I can't say enough good things about it. It is $80 if you pick it up brand new with the Ring Con and the not the Ring Con, but of course the Ring Con, but the leg strap. That was it. I was thinking like something on your arm, but no, there's nothing that goes on your arm for that. So it's $80 when you pick it up brand new, and it's been great. I picked mine up at the end of 2019, I want to say. That sounds about right. I picked it up at the end of 2019, and then it came in handy because when COVID ended up hitting really hard, that's when, gyms were closing and such, and then I started playing Ring Fit. And then for the longest time, I really didn't want to go back to the gym, so I made a dedication to play this Monday through Friday, every single day on the weekdays, Monday through Friday. And typically, like, I'll take a lunch break or I'll take like a short break and play this, and that's when I get my exercise in. And I usually do good for the most part. The only times I don't play this during weekdays are when I'm on vacation, when I'm super, super, super busy. So typically, like, if I'm busy, I will try not to miss more than like a day. So at worst, it might be I play it 4 days out of the week as opposed to 5. Or if I'm sick. At one point, I did get COVID this year, so I did not play Ring Fit during that. However, like I said, once you finish it once, it does go into New Game Plus mode. I finished the New Game Plus, and I'm almost done with the New Game Plus Plus right now, so very high on it. I'm playing on like the highest difficulty right now. I am probably like a level 480 or something like that. It's a good game. It's a really good game, and it does kick your butt. So definitely recommend it if you have any sort of interest in it, and actually stick to it. That's the important thing. Stick to it. I don't go to a gym anymore because of this game. And for something I paid $80 for 3 years ago, that is an incredible return on investment right there. I'll tell you that. So that was it for March. Now in April, I ended up finishing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now I know some people might be confused, and I'm sure even wondering like how do you finish a Mario Kart game? It's possible. Finish up all the tracks on there and finish up all the trophies. I guess the cups, that's it. Finish up all the cups, and you end up getting the credits rolling on there. So the first set of DLC came out, and what I decided to do is I just decided to complete everything, and I think, was it mirror mode? I have a thing with myself, a restriction. I don't try on 200. I only play 200cc for fun and just to mess about. But if it's 150, I actually do try on there. My thing is, I feel like if I actually do try on 200cc, I'm just going to ruin it for myself, and I'm not going to enjoy it as much. But 150, I'm used to that. So I decided to play through all of the cups in mirror mode and get 3 stars and the gold trophy on all of them. So that's what I did for this. I played through every single one of them, like the stock maps, the I guess the original DLC that was on the Wii U version that's baked into here, and then the first set of DLC. So I beat it and then some more, but yeah, I did beat this game again. Still always a fun game. I love Mario Kart 8. Really love that game. Next game I finished was, I actually ended up getting this one later, but it came out at around this time. It was the house... Why am I looking down? It's right here. House of the Dead remake. So I didn't pick this up at the time. I did pre-order it because I wanted a physical copy of it, but one of my best friends ended up picking it up. And he brought his Switch over one day and he's like, dude, have you played the remake yet? I said, no. He's like, we have to play this right now. And it's a quick game. You can finish this within like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. It's really enjoyable, super fun, a great remake. He is a huge House of the Dead fan. And the funny thing is, I feel like most people have not played through the original House of the Dead. I have a little bit of a theory. I feel like, and I had this as well too, I feel like most people in their head, they think of House of the Dead 2 as the original House of the Dead. Because whenever I thought of the original, I always thought of House of the Dead 2. And that's the one where you're not in the mansion. The first one is when you're in the actual mansion. And I remember House of the Dead 3, and I've played a bit of 4, and I think there was like another one there. But I think I've only seen House of the Dead, the original one. I've only seen the arcade cabinet for it like once or twice. It's kind of hard to find. I've seen 2 all over the place. Like 2 is quite popular. That's why it's kind of like burned into my brain. And it had more popular ports as well too. But that's why the first one, I didn't have that much experience with it. Now, my best friend, he had a ton of experience with it. And it was funny because even during our playthrough, he was actually very happy about playing through it together because I ended up unlocking another weapon for him. So we had a lot of fun playing through this. It was great. Cannot recommend it enough. Really good on Switch as well, too, for the most part. Like, the performance isn't going to be the best, mind you. And then even with him, his own recommendation and I guess only complaint he might have had, and it wasn't even a complaint, it was more a recommendation. He just said he wanted a way to get the original music back. So his hope was whenever it came out on PC, there'd be a mod to restore the original music. But aside from that, he's like, no, this is perfect. Like, he absolutely loved it. Even though this one didn't count, like I don't count them multiple times, I played through this a few months later. My girlfriend and I played through it, and she very much enjoyed it as well, too. So House of the Dead remake, cannot recommend this enough. Also, the limited edition, like the physical they did, was super awesome. It's got this, like, I mean, obviously you all can see, like, right here, just how the cover looks and everything. It's, like, movable and such. I'm not sure how well that picks up on camera, but it's also got some other stuff with it as well, too. Like, it's got a couple of the standees right here, and it has some stickers, and it has the game itself. Yeah. Oh, here's the thing that I don't like about this, though. Like, so you have the game case right here, and the inside is just like, it's blinding white. It has like nothing on there. So that's a little bit disappointing. But the rest of this is still really cool. So when I got this limited edition, I was like, this is cool. And I think I don't know if my friend picked it up. I told him he should have. So I hope he did. Either way, great. Really don't have anything else to say about that one. Just good stuff right there. So the next month, this was May at this point, I ended up burning through this series. Now, around this time, actually it was a couple months prior, so back in March, I had finally got my hands on a Xbox Series X, and it was crazy, because it was just, I saw them on Walmart.com, and they were just there. And I had been looking for so long. I'd been trying. Unfortunately, I couldn't even get one for my brother for Christmas. So this happened, months afterwards. But then I ended up giving it to him the next time I saw him. But I ended up getting 2 of them. One for myself, one for my brother. And the unfortunate thing was, I got it in March. And there's a reason why I'm telling this here. I got it in March, and that was like around the time where there was just a lot of bad brain stuff going on, and I was just very depressed at that point. I'm just being honest with that. I could tell it was bad when, like, I had I ordered the Xbox Series X. I got it. I remember it took, a couple weeks to get it, and I took it out of the shipping box. I took it, I put it on my kitchen counter and looked at it, and I kind of said out loud, I was like, why did I buy this? I just had, like, no desire for it. So I quite literally, I took the system with the box and everything, and like I knew I was going to be using it. I took the system with the box. I didn't even open it up or anything. Didn't open the box or anything. I just put it on the floor in my basement, and it sat there for like 2.5 months. 2 months, I just had absolutely no drive to open it up, set it up, anything. And then the half right there that's when I started getting better. At that point, I was like, mostly good to go, but then I was really busy for 2 weeks. So then what happened with all this, what transpired is I did not finish this game, but at one point someone had mentioned Brothers in Arms. And I looked into it, and I remembered that I had Brothers in Arms Hell's Highway on Xbox 360. Very much enjoyed it, but I sold it years ago. So I decided to pick it up on eBay for like $10. And I remember when I got it, I think it was a Thursday or Friday, I got it in the mail, and I took it, I grabbed one of my RGH systems, like one of my hard modded systems, ripped it over, and then I was, gonna be happy playing it on there. And then I was like, wait a minute. Xbox One has backwards compatibility. I got an Xbox Series downstairs, a Series X, and it takes discs, and I think this is backwards compatible. So originally, I was going to play Brothers in Arms Hell's Highway on there. And then I realized, wait a minute, I have a nice collection of Xbox and Xbox 360 games, and now I have a series system that has a disc drive. What am I doing? So I immediately opened up, that was like the drive. I immediately opened up my Xbox Series X, hooked it up, got it all set up, and funny enough, I wasn't even really playing like current generation stuff on there. I was using it as a really nice Xbox and Xbox 360 emulator. So that is all to say, it kind of ended up leading to this. I had a little bit of an inkling. I wanted to play these games, and I said, you know what? Because I tried Hell's Highway, and I was like, this isn't as good as I remember it, but I think I just have to get into it, but I don't feel like getting into it right now. And I was like, you know what game was really cool? Max Payne. I think it was around this time, too, like shortly before all this happened, I had a podcast, again, another Mario's Minute episode with Badger Goodger, and we talked about Max Payne and how much we enjoy the series and how much we love Max Payne 3. So I realized, wait a minute, the Max Payne games just recently got added to backwards compatibility. I have all of them on Xbox. I now have a nice current generation system that will emulate them incredibly well. So that's all to say, the first game I ended up finishing in May was the original Max Payne, and there was something so surreal to this that I absolutely loved. Really with it being that this is the original copy of the game that my mom got for me, brand new, back in the day. This game came out in, when was it? 2000. It came out in 2001. I feel like she probably got this for me in 2002, and I've had it in my collection since then. So it was a really surreal moment to be like, I literally have this game from my childhood. I've had this exact copy for 20 years, like still complete and everything. Great condition, everything. And 20 years later, I can take the disc and pop it into the latest edition of the Xbox and still play it. Like, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love backwards compatibility. That is fantastic to see. I fully support it. But played through it, realized this is still a masterpiece to me. Absolutely love this game. Is it janky? Yes. However, I love that they didn't really define the Max Payne series at this point. So it's dark, it's gritty, it's demonic, it's hellish. Like, it is an incredibly twisted and disturbing game when you, like, look at it as an adult. And I'm just like, wow, okay, because I hadn't played this game, like, done a proper playthrough in about 10 years. The last time I played through this game was before Max Payne 3 came out. So looking at it again, it just... incredible. I love this game. Truly love the first one. Then the next game I ended up finishing in May was Max Payne 2. I knocked these out really quick. I think in like a day I beat this. In like 1 or 2 days I beat this right here. Within a week I had played all of them, so spoiler alert right there. This one, again, same copy I had. I got it for Christmas, used years and years ago, probably in... when did this one come out? 2003, so maybe 2005, 2006 for Christmas. Unfortunately, this one has a movie gallery sticker on it. It's got a M sticker right there, and it never had the manual. But I still have the first copy that I got, so that's cool. I played through this here, and it's funny because a lot of people say that Max Payne 2 is a lot better than the first one. I actually prefer the first one. I think the first one is better. I will say, though, on a technical level, this one is better. It's really cool playing it, especially on the Xbox Series X. It's cool playing it with, widescreen support. They did more of a twisted love story on here. What am I trying to say? They made it more cinematic. That was it. And they had more of a refined tone to it, as opposed to this. They're just like, we're going to throw everything at the wall. We're going to throw angels, demons, drugs, everything. Like, just take a moment to realize I can't think of another game like this. Like, 2 minutes into the game, your baby dies. Like, you see you don't see it, but like a baby dies 2 minutes into this game. That's really twisted. We were on something else for 2001. This one here, it's less graphic when it comes to all of that, but you can tell they did more of the world building. Technically, it's better as well too. I will acknowledge that, but I just prefer, I guess, the hellish scape of the first one. Either way, this one's really good though. An excellent sequel, I will say that. Then in June, because this is like at the very end of everything there. So then this one took me longer. I think this one took me 3 or 4 days to finish up because the cutscenes were so long on there. I forgot about it. But Max Payne 3 ended up coming out. Okay. All of that. I haven't played this game since like shortly after it released on PC, and I never even finished it on PC. I got it the day it came out on Xbox 360, went to the midnight release. This is still my original copy of it right here. It's complete, everything. Still in great condition, too. Either way, I ended up getting this and played through it the first week it came out. Really loved it. But I was thinking back then, like when I was playing through it now, I was like, why don't I remember most of this? Like, I don't remember most of this game. I just remember the first level or two because I replayed it a few times for a review I did back in the day. I remember the multiplayer quite a bit. I remember the first 1 or 2 levels. And the rest of the game, I remember really enjoying. And I remember the final level. That's it, like in the airport. But I didn't remember much else from the game. And I was trying to like figure out what was going on, like why I just couldn't remember it. I also kind of put 2 and 2 together and realized 10 years ago, literally 10 years ago, when this game came out, was not going through the best time in my life either. That was back, actually, quick aside, that was back when I was in college. Did not do very well my first year, was just in a major. I was in computer science, was not doing well with it, didn't jive with it. Then realized, I found a different major. It was management information systems. Switched up to that, 1 or 2 semesters later, did much better. But around that time, like I had just finished my first year in college and just wasn't really doing all that great. Wasn't really enjoying the major that I was in. And so I kind of just had this like almost low level of depression, I guess you could say. And depression does mess with your memory. Like when there's people who are just like, if you're talking to someone who was depressed at one point and you ask them about times in their life during that time period and they don't really remember them, that was probably the depression right there. Either way, what ended up happening was, as bad as this is to say, it kind of worked in my favor. Because when I played it now, I had forgotten so much of the game that it was like a brand new, fresh game. And I played through it, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is a masterpiece right here. Again, yet another masterpiece. The only thing is, it is so different. Like, in terms of gameplay and everything, it is so different from the first 2 Max Payne games right here. So it wasn't bad, mind you. Not saying it in a bad way, but the best way I can describe this is it's almost not even like Max Payne 3. It's almost like a really cool third-person shooter from Rockstar Games featuring the character Max Payne. Because even if you play through this, because I played through these back to back to back. I played 1, then 2, then 3. And for Max Payne 2, you really got to play the first one to make sense of a lot of things. But in this one, it kind of just resigns everything to references. Like, for example, in a graveyard level, like when you're in New Jersey, you end up seeing a tombstone, and there's no flashback or anything. You don't see anything. It's just Max kind of talking about a character. So if you have the old games in mind and you remember those, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But if you've never played the other 2 Max Payne games, you're not really losing that much context. So it's weird because it's also this sequel that you can just jump straight into 3. And that's actually what one of my best friends did years ago. I remember he was like at my house once and he's looking through my games and he said, hey, Max Payne 3, how is that? And I just freaked out at the time that he had not played it. And I took it off my shelf. I'm like, here, take this home, play it. Don't give it back to me until you're done with it. And I remember, it was great. I remember like a week or two later, he had finished it, and we were hanging out at a party somewhere, and all of a sudden it hits him with the realization that he had to tell me about Max Payne 3, and he just grabs my shoulders and shakes me. He's like, "Oh my god, this game, I gotta talk to you about this." So yeah, no, fantastic game. Don't have anything else to say about it aside from like great, excellent things. I think it ended on a really good point as well too. I don't think we need a Max Payne 4, but great overall to see. I am looking forward to the remakes of 1 and 2 though. I'm sure those are going to be good, because the next game I end up finishing after that was, let me make sure I got it right, the Alan Wake remaster. So I got onto this because I realized that, what was this here? This was a different development team. Like, these two games, they were developed by Remedy. Max Payne 3 was a different development team entirely. So that's why it was so different. And I remember that same friend, I actually, back in the day, after I got Max Payne 3 from him, I gave him Alan Wake. And I was like, dude, if you've played the Max Payne game, you're going to love Alan Wake. Because in my head, I was like, okay, you know, the Max Payne games, those are from Remedy. This is from Remedy. He took it home. He brings it back. He's like, I'm not really liking this game, man. Like, it's just not my thing. I don't know. And then I went to play this, and I know it's got a whole lot of love. And I've played it like once, way back when, shortly after it came out. And I enjoyed it. But I could also see, I was like, I understand why I had recommended it. And I was thinking of Max Payne with this. Because I feel like, not the exact same thing, mind you. Not the exact same thing, but I feel like if Max Payne 3 was developed by the original team that worked on 1 and 2, the gameplay style would have been something similar to Alan Wake. So that's kind of why I still had that in my head and everything. But I played this on PS5, of course, and I enjoyed it. The nice thing is with the remastered edition is it was a discounted game, so I think it came out for like 30 or 40 bucks. I got it on a deeper sale than that. It also has all the DLC that had come out for Alan Wake. So I did not pick up the DLC back on the Xbox 360 version, but I got to play it on here. One thing I didn't like, it was remembering some bad times there. Nothing that happened to me, but I'm just talking about like the generation as a whole. This came out around the time when developers realized that they could develop a whole game and they could cut out parts of it, like cut out chapters, and resell them to you under a season pass or as DLC months after the game came out. And I forgot that Alan Wake was like that, because I think there's 6 chapters to the base game, and then the other 2 chapters, 7 and 8, are DLC chapters, which everything is on here, mind you. But I remember I was playing it and I was like, these are actually really important chapters. Why didn't they just put them into the game? Because I remember, like, when I played the game years ago, I finished it, like the base game, and I was like, well, that's it? That's it? There's not more? There was more, but they expected you to pay for it. So this was kind of one of those games that was developed around that point in time when they realized, you know, quite literally right here in this case, we can develop an entire game, take out a quarter of it, sell you 3/4 of it as a full game, and then resell you the other 25% of the game for, what, 15, 20 bucks? I didn't really like that, so. Either way, still an enjoyable game. Got more into it than I expected here, but enjoy it overall. I'm going to put this right here. Like, my desk is just filling up with all these games right now. So that was it for June. In July, this is where I end up having this here. So at one point, I end up picking up, as you can see, Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy. I got it on PS4. I was at a used game shop, and I found it there for like 22 bucks. And I was like, you know, it's going to play better than the Switch version. I can just play it with my brain turned off. It's fine. I enjoy these games. Even though these aren't the best ports, mind you, whatever. And I had fun with it. I will say that. I had fun with it because what I would do is I would fire this game up and then I would just play music in the background, like through my music app on the PS5, and enjoyed myself quite a bit. I played through Grand Theft Auto 3 on here. Still a fantastic game. It is my all-time favorite game. So any platform I can play Grand Theft Auto 3 on, I usually play Grand Theft Auto 3 on. And when I'm playing it, I kind of have to force myself away from it, but really enjoyed this. Like, is this version good? Like, it's better. It's getting better now, but I don't really recommend picking this up for the most part, unless you can get it for like really, really cheap and you can justify it. Like for me, I was like, you know, $22. Okay, sure. I might as well get it. It's a good trilogy. Kind of silly thing as well, too, though. On the PS4 version here, the physical edition, unfortunately, you are not eligible for a PS5 upgrade. I was a little disappointed with that. So I played through the PS4 version on PS5, but it was fine. Played just fine, so I didn't have much issue with it. It was all right. Next game I ended up finishing was Stray. I did get the physical of this later, but I did not want to wait for this. So I did pick this up, I think, on launch. And I liked it. More than I expected I would. I remember I did see it, and I was like, I'm going to very much enjoy this game. But I platinumed the game, which I don't really do that often. I actually worked to get the platinum on here, which isn't all too difficult, mind you. There was like 1 or 2 trophies that were kind of difficult. But I absolutely love this game. In the first week, I think I finished it 3 or 4 times. And definitely shed a few tears to this as well, too. It's a phenomenal game. Like, absolutely love this game. So, really great. Also, I don't just have it on PS5 real quick. I also have it on PC. And I did want to get it on PC because there is a modder who, I don't know their name off the top of my head, and you can look them up. They got known for modding. They were doing like a service where you could like donate to them through coffee. And they would put your cat into the game as a mod and give you your cat as a mod file. So I actually did this with my girlfriend's cat. And I set it up on my Steam Deck. I had her cat on there, and I just gave it to her without any context. I was like, hey, I want you to try out the Steam Deck. Here's Stray on here. And the first scene where, like, the cat is, coming on screen and waking up, she was just like, oh, it's my cat. So, nice surprise there. Her cat is immortalized in the game through code. But, yeah, something fun to do there. So, Stray, great game. Finished that like 3 or 4 times, like I said. I also use that as a demonstration to let people try out the Steam Deck as well, too. So, many people have gotten to, I guess, get their purr on, I guess, with this game. In August, I only finished up 1 game. This is one of those times where, like I said, can be difficult to finish up a game. But it was actually that game you're seeing in the background right here, which I also have here, loaded for the original PlayStation. Now, funny enough, I actually didn't finish this here on the original PlayStation or even the PS2 like I have it hooked up back there. No, I actually finished this on the Steam Deck. This is around the time I ended up picking up the Steam Deck. I installed EmuDeck on there. I got all of my emulators on there sorted. I put a bunch of games on. And I decided to load up Loaded with cheats, and I just burned through it. And, like, I enjoy this game. I remember I played it, like, I got it originally, of course, on the PlayStation. I got it at a local game shop when I was younger, and it was like $6. Like, really cheap, like, pretty much worthless. And, edgy-looking game, loud, intense, very much a 1995 type game. Yeah. It's edgy, it's fun, but it's painful. And by that I mean, it will hurt your thumb, like playing on the D-pad. It's very intense. It's kind of like, you might be seeing it in the background there. It's kind of like a very, very early version of Hotline Miami in some way. So, still enjoyed it. Is it a good game? Kinda. Like, it's an alright game, I will acknowledge that. It did get a sequel, which I also own, called Reloaded, and it's not nearly as good. I tried it and I tapped out pretty quickly on that one. But this one I did see through to the end. But also my complaint was with the Steam Deck, one of my few complaints, was that D-pad hurts. I was playing it on there and it was like, it was painful getting through it on here. But either way, I got through Loaded. So, enjoyable game. Also just like, this is one of the coolest looking long boxes I have. Just look at this. Maybe I'm just a sucker for the aesthetic right here, but it's awesome looking. So I end up playing through that. Next game I end up finishing in September. I actually finished quite a few games. So it was around this time my girlfriend and I were we were kind of sort of rewatching. I was rewatching. She was kind of watching it for the first time. Stranger Things. We were working through the series and we burned through all of the seasons 1 through 4. Now, me personally, season 3 is my favorite. And I forgot that I had this, but some people might even be surprised with this. They made a game specifically for that. Stranger Things 3, the game. And it's good. Like, would you believe it's good? It is pretty much a mostly loyal adaptation of Season 3 of Stranger Things in the form of a Super Nintendo game. Not literally, but like it has that aesthetic to it is what I mean. It was so good. It was so good. I very much enjoyed this. And I was even looking it up too. I was like, why? Like, it seems like this came out and like nobody really talked about it. But again, for me, as somebody who Stranger Things Season 3 was my favorite of all of them, and then I played through this here, and it was pretty much just a 16-bit adaptation of the season. Oh my goodness, it was good. It was really good. Very much enjoyed that. Then I played a few other games. One of my friends, I ended up picking this up for him, and well, not for, I picked it up for myself. And then we were going to play it together because he was like, hey, I want to play these games. So him and I were going to play the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games together. And this came out first, the Cowabunga Collection. It came out. They did a really awesome job with it, the developers. I did want to support this. I want to support the project. And it has so many of the Turtles games on here, which, like, funny enough, I'm looking at the back, and it doesn't even have, like, a good list of them, unfortunately, which is really disappointing because look at this. Look at how much of this is label. Like, warnings and... Look at this. This is more than half of it. I didn't notice that until now. Yeah, 13 classic TMNT games in one incredible package, but it doesn't say which ones they are. Either way, my friend and I, we ended up doing couch co-op on this. I brought my Switch with... Excuse me, computer. I brought my Switch with my copy of the Cowabunga Collection over to his place, and then we end up playing the arcade games that are on here. There's only 2 of them, I believe, but we played through Turtles in Time, and we also played through the original one, and both of them were really great on here. They played incredibly well. Nice extra features on here as well, too. Just overall awesome. So I ended up playing 2 games from this collection here. Then that same night as well, too, he ended up grabbing his Raspberry Pi setup, he hooked it up, and he had a bunch of, games through MAME on there. And we had kind of talked about this. We had, because it was like him and I were talking, and his wife is really not into gaming, but she appreciates it. And we somehow got into the topic of Michael Jackson, and we talked about Moonwalker, and I knew about the Genesis game. And he told me there was an arcade game that was, like, completely different. So I'm just like, I didn't know about it. I didn't know. But he decided to hook it up. He fires up Moonwalker. He hands over the controller to me. He's like, here, just play it. And we just put a bunch of coins in there. And I ended up finishing it that night. It is a really good game. The arcade ROM, very good. Like, a really great game. I've never seen the cabinet anywhere. I will say, though, I'm trying to keep this light. With, allegations that Michael Jackson had and everything, when you keep those in mind and when you play the game, I'm kind of sitting there like, it's not doing you any favors. And even him and his wife, they were looking at it, they're like, yeah, this is, it's a little bit suspicious. What was going on here? Who greenlit this? But overall, still, very fun game. So I end up playing through that. And then the other game I played, because beating 4 games wasn't enough, I decided to beat 5 games that month, was Donut County on the Switch. I love this game so much. I think every platform I have it, I have played it on. I've gotten, 100%, gotten all the trophies and everything. And this is just a game that I will go back and revisit and just very much enjoy. And here's another thing as well, too. I do have, as you can see, the Switch copy of it here. But if you look at it, I'll see if I can show you all. Just if you look at the cover right there, if we can focus, get it to focus. There we go. BK is controlling a Switch. Or I guess he's controlling everything with a Switch. Like on the Switch cover. That's just immaculate. I love that little detail just on the Switch version alone. But it plays incredibly well on the Switch. It's like perfect setup for this. So, great overall. October, I ended up playing another short game, which my girlfriend had played this before. She told me about it. She had it digitally. I decided to pick it up physical at one point. And it is quite literally called this. Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. It's a short game. You can finish it in like 2 or 3 hours, something like that. I would recommend finishing it in one sitting if you can, because there's not really a proper map on there. So if you're a little directionally challenged like I am, it's going to be hard to, play the game and then not play it for like 2 weeks and come back to it. So it's best to really play it in like one sitting if you can do that. I think I did it in 1 or 2 sittings, but overall it is a hilarious, charming, fun game, very meme filled. There was an update to it as well too that added in, new content, new features, all that stuff. And it was an update. It wasn't even DLC. It was just an update on there. So awesome to the folks over at Graffiti Games, and I guess Snoozy Kazoo. I don't know if they were, I think they might have been the publishers. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which ones were the publishers, which ones were the developers. Forgive me. Those are the two, labels I'm seeing on here. But this is also a surprise. See, this is how you do it, right? Look, it's not just like plain white on the inside. It was surprising that this small game ended up getting a physical release on here. So when I saw it, I decided to pick it up at one point, and very much made me laugh out loud many times. Very enjoyable game. Absolutely loved this one. Next up, I end up replaying this game here. Where is it? It's here. Here it is. God of War 2018. Now, I played this. This is PS4, of course, but I played this on the PlayStation 5. The cool thing is, the PS5 version, I haven't played this since, like, months after launch. So, since, like, it came out in 2018. Now, around that time, I had gone months and months without playing it. Like, I had played a bit of it, and then I stopped for like 6 or 7 months, and then came back to it and finished it. So this time around, I did want to play through the game all in one shot. And I didn't do it like in one sitting, mind you, but I pretty much burned through it in a weekend. And one of my friends who hasn't finished it yet, and it's been years, he was shocked that I did that. And he was like, "Wait, did you just like spend like all weekend playing?" I was like, "Yeah, kind of." Like, I started playing it Friday evening, and I did other stuff, mind you, but I started playing it like Friday evening, and I finished it like Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Overall, though, this was my game of the year when it came out in 2018. Amazing experience. Excellent game overall. Incredible game. Incredibly moving. Fantastic game. I did shed manly tears over this still. Even this time around, it actually hit me a bit harder because I was able to appreciate it more. But overall, loved this game. Was really happy to replay it. And I replayed it because I was wanting to pick up God of War Ragnarok. So I wanted this one fresh in my head. But on PS5, it also has a performance patch on there, meaning that you can play the game at 60 frames per second and I think 4K checkerboarding. And it's beautiful. It is a technical masterpiece. It really is. I was playing through it and I kept having to remind myself, like, wait, this is a PS4 game, not a PS5 game. Honestly, the only things that really give it away that it's not a PS5 game is that it doesn't make use of any of the DualSense specific features. And as opposed to loading, like whenever you see a loading screen, as opposed to like 5 seconds, it's like 20 or 30 seconds. So those are the only like dead giveaways that it's not a PS5 game running on PS5 hardware. But either way, absolutely loved this game. Still, like, very happy I replayed it. Then I replayed some other games as well. I randomly had a bug to play these games. I don't know why. I just kind of I got like a craving to play them. And since I played them so many times, what I did was I just kind of did the same thing I was talking about with Grand Theft Auto, where I would just play music in the background and play them. But on my Series X, I end up using the Master Chief Collection here, and I played through the original Halo. I also played through Halo 2. Now, Halo CE, like Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, I enjoy it. It gets a lot of like knocks for it, but I enjoyed it. I remember even at the time when it came out, people were like, "Oh, it's literally the same game with just new graphics." And I'm like, yeah, that's why I like it. Because it's the same game, but with nicer graphics. Like, I feel like if they went back to the drawing board and like redid everything and the game felt different and operated differently, you would complain as well too. So I'm not going to get into that all too much, but still very much enjoyed it. Then I played through Halo 2, and I talked about this again on another episode of Mario's Minute. I talked about this. My dirty confession is that I've never really liked Halo 2 that much. The multiplayer is cool. I like the multiplayer. I respect that. But when it comes to the campaign, I've never really liked it. And one of my friends, he put it the best. He has said when I brought it up to him, because my issues were like, the Arbiter missions, boring. They are so boring. And there's some people who might defend them, and it's like, if they were that good, they would have been used in the other Halo games. But they were not used in there. You only had them in Halo 2, and that was it. The only good Arbiter mission is the final one, because that's actually a well-done mission. But, in my opinion here, again, either way, playing through these games, when I played through Halo 2 on here, when I tried to do a replay of these years ago, Halo 2 stopped me. Because I got like halfway through it and I lost interest. So this time around, I had to force myself to get through Halo 2. And it's like, well, the first like 2 hours, one of my friends put it the best. He kind of said the first 2.5 hours, great. You're on Cairo Station. You find out about the other Halo. You go down to Delta Halo. You do a mission or two there. They're great. Arbiter missions suck, except for the last one. So then like the middle of the game, not great. It's just not great overall. Then, like the last mission or two really ties it all back together. And that was my experience with it. Like, it didn't pick up for me until the final 2 missions. And I was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere good again. So yeah, that's all to say. I was never really a fan of the campaign for Halo 2. I kind of just trudged through it so I could prepare myself to replay Halo 3. So now whenever I decide to go back to my Halo replay collection here, I'm all ready for Halo 3. I'm trying to just go through all of them again and then actually like work on finishing Infinite, because I dropped Infinite last year, but we'll work on that maybe. And that's a 2023 issue right there. So there was Halo 1, Halo 2. Then the last game I finished in November. I finished a lot of games in November. There's just something about like the cold weather. I just kind of stay inside and I'll kind of just want to play games and, hang out with, y'all might not have even seen her till now. I'll just hang out with my dog Lily and we'll play video games. She doesn't play video games. I play the video games and then she kind of just lounges around like that. But either way, the next game I end up playing was Nier Automata on the Switch. Now I picked this up on the Switch. I had it on PS4 and I dropped it. And I don't have a good reason for dropping it. The reason why I stopped playing it on the PS4 is because I picked it up at one point, played like 30 minutes of it, and I was like, this is awesome. This is intense. This is great. And then I just stopped playing it. I'm sorry. I do that sometimes. It was no offense to the game. It's a me issue at this point. But I picked it up on Switch because it was $40 as opposed to $50 or $60. I had seen that it was a very good port, and I did want to support it, and it came out at the right time. It came out right around a time where I was going on a trip. And I said, I'm going to bring my Switch with me. I'm going to pick it up and play it on the Switch. So I played it on the plane, both way, because I guess when I was actually there at my destination, I surprisingly didn't play anything. I was pretty busy for the most part. But on the plane there, on the plane back, I did have some long plane rides. I did get to play it on there, and it was very enjoyable having the power of Nier Automata in my hands right there. It was super cool. I did play through it. I didn't get all the endings. There's 26 endings on there. And there's going to be a little bit of a spoiler on here, but you know what? The game's been, it's been out for years. There's 5 endings that you need to get to the true ending. I did get the true ending, but there's people who say, Lance McDonald put it the best. The dude who, he's pretty well known for modding up Bloodborne with the 60 frames patch and everything. He put it best when this came out, and actually his words convinced me to get this and pick it up again. He pretty much said, hey, all of you Nier fans who, you love the game, that's all good, but you're telling all these people, oh, you have to beat the game 20 times. You got to get every ending. Stop doing that. Stop it. You're going to scare people from getting onto it in the first place. This is the truth of it. You play through it pretty much 3 times to get everything on there, to get to the true ending. You play through it as 2B, and then you replay that same section as 9S, and then you play through the rest of the game to get the true ending. That's the long short of how it goes. You don't have to, there's fake out endings, but you don't have to beat the game 20 times or 30 times. No, just don't say that. You're going to scare away people. And that actually, honestly, I'm sharing that with you all because that was amazing advice, and that convinced me to pick this up, and that was pretty much the truth to it. Yeah, you play through the game as one character, then you play through that same part as another character, then you finish up the rest of the game. It works out real well. Overall, great on Switch, by the way. Fantastic port. Fantastic port. Is it, a low resolution? Does it run at 30 frames? Yeah. But it's impressive that what they're able to squeeze out of it. So that's been cool. Now, the final game I end up finishing, and this was December, And it's at a point now, while I'm recording this, I don't think I'm going to be finishing up any other games for the year. So I think this is it. Like, this is the end here. And what an ending this was. God of War Ragnarok. This was the final game that I ended up finishing for the year of 2022 and in December, so I was able to complete my challenge. I wasn't even 100% sure if I was going to get this on launch, but I decided because I was like, I'm too excited for this game. I don't want to wait for it. I am going to pick it up, even though I did kind of put it to the side for a little bit. But then when I had some time again, I decided to, pick this up, go through it, and how do I say? I don't know how they did it, but this is better than the first one. And I hold the first one in incredibly high regard. Incredibly high regard. So I was going in, I leveled my expectations. I was like, okay, if this is like as good as the first God of War, or maybe even not as good by like a little bit, that's fine. Because, to me, in my brain, in my heart, like the first God of War, it holds a very special place for me. Like God of War 2018. So I was like, that's a really high bar to transcend on there. And there's games like, for example, on the right here, the Grand Theft Auto trilogy. Now, I will acknowledge that Grand Theft Auto 3 is not the best on a technical level out of all these, but it is my favorite, and it is what I prefer. But no, this is to say that at a technical level, at a preference, but even just with everything they've done, like whether you look at it objectively or opinionated here, like God of War Ragnarok is better than the first one. And it blew my mind because I'm like, you all set an incredibly high bar for yourselves and somehow you smashed that as well too. Even if they don't make a sequel to this, I won't really be upset. I really won't be upset because I felt like they did a fantastic job with this overall. So that was what I did. This game wrecked me as well too, by the way. Phenomenal game overall. So there we go. That's been all of the games I have finished here for 2022. I'm gonna, I'm gonna have to get like just a big stack, just put them all into a stack here. Hold on, let me see if I can do this. This has been the biggest stack I've had of games I think in a long time, even with the digital stuff as well too. So I'm happy with that, but. Just going back to this all, excuse me, I'm trying to make sure I don't drop it. Here we go, we got it. Again, we keep it casual here. Look at that. And this isn't even everything. So there we go. All these games have been completed this year. Overall, let me actually get a count of it because I didn't get a count, so hold on. Okay, so I even surprised myself there. 27 games. That's how many games I finished this year. 27 games for my challenge, which I think is a little bit more than other years. And there's some good meaty games here as well too. So overall, I'm happy with my selections. I'm happy with everything for the most part on here. Now, this is kind of where I turn it over to you all. And if you made it to the end, like, seriously, thank you. You're awesome for hanging out here, enjoying yourself. I hope it was an enjoyable video. Usually these ones are more chill. There's not all too much going on here. But if you've done something like this, let me know. If you have a list of games that you have finished this year, let me know that as well too. I would be interested to see everyone else's lists, what they thought, and what some people do. There are some people who they do track their games, but they're not trying to do a certain like arbitrary number like I do here. There's some people who even do like the beat a game a week challenge, which that's too much for me. I can't do that. Sometimes life just really gets in the way and I'm not able to do that. But overall, I'm still in disbelief. I didn't think it was this many, and it's still not even this many here because there's digital titles, but I didn't think it was this many until we got to this point. So will there be more this year? I don't know. Like next year, I don't know. I don't know. Some people might also be wondering what my game of the year is. I will say, come back at the very end of the year here, 2022, and you will get to see which one of these games was my game of the year. I will say, it was one of these games. Physical, mind you, physical. It was one of these games as my game of the year, but I'm not going to reveal it until the very end of the year. As I do, as per tradition, that's been going on for a long time now at this point. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated. If you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well, too. I was kind of doing a look because, like, I like sliced up my thumb earlier today doing I don't know what. It's okay, it just kind of stings, you know? But either way, I hope y'all don't have stinging thumbs out there. Again, for real, if you enjoyed this, a like would absolutely be appreciated. If you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well, too. I guess as I say on one of my other series as well, too. You can dislike it, but if you do, you're going to make that sleepy dog there just a little sad. So just think about your actions.